Hey guys, it's Amelia, but not the pilot, just Amelia. We are back with another book monthly review. This is my delayed May review. I didn't read as much as I've read in the past months because I do have a job now, very exciting. So I mostly did audiobooks this month. I read 5 books in total, so 4 audio and 1 physical book. And not gonna lie, the 1 physical book put me off reading so bad, which is why I didn't read for the entire rest of the month and only did audiobook rereads. So let's get into it. First off, I listened to Rebel Wilson's new memoir called Rebel Rising, just because I love some tea and drama, and I saw that there's a bunch of drama with like Sacha Baron Cohen complaining about her book and what she says about him in it, so I was like, we gotta see what's going on. It was interesting. It's just like a basic celebrity memoir telling about her upbringing and her struggles of how she became where she is. I didn't think the tea was all that crazy. She's basically just like, he sucks, and I was sort of like, that tracks. So definitely not a life-changing memoir, but I mean, it was interesting if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And then I've been rereading a couple big series. I am reading Lord of the Rings, so I did Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers this past month. I've actually never read Lord of the Rings all the way through, because when I was a kid, my dad was reading them to me when I was like very little, and when we got to Two Towers, we got halfway through and I said, this is boring, can we stop? And then I've never read them since. So I actually reread Fellowship of the Ring for the first time, so that was fun. I had never heard the Tom Bombadil bits, so that was fun. There's so much singing, and I listened to the audiobook narrated by Andy Serkis, which was really good. He does all little voices, but he does them basically like he's imitating his other like actors in the film, which I thought was really cool. And he sings all the songs, so lots of singing. Honestly, mostly singing. I feel like 30% singing, but the books are so long. So anyway, I listened to Fellowship and also Two Towers. Two Towers was still, I found, quite boring. I don't know why, like, the movie, I feel like sorry, my allergies are really bad today. The movie's quite good, but the book I found so boring. So boring. But now I'm gonna read the next one, Return of the King, so I'm excited for that. I'm also rereading Outlander, just because I'm in Scotland and we have that Outlander vibe, and I've made some recent new friends who are into Outlander, and I want to be able to talk about it with them, and I never finished reading or watching it because I only read and watched, I think, the first 4. So I'm currently re-listening to the audiobooks, and then when I get to 5, I'm planning on reading the physical books, because I do own all of them. So I just finished re-listening to the first Outlander, which I thought was quite good. How, yet again though, I will say, I don't understand why it's like one massive book. I feel like there's a very clear split in the book, and I don't know why she didn't just separate it into 2 books instead of making it 1,000 pages. I consistently feel like this for all long books. I don't know why they're always long. Like, I feel like I've never read a long book that needs to be that long. I always think that there's a good part where you could split it and put it in the next book, or make 2 separate books out of it. Like, there's always a moment. Or I'm like, you could have cropped out a whole bit of this, but here we are. If you don't know, Outlander is it's sort of, actually, I think it's classified as sci-fi technically, but it's about a woman who is just after World War II. She's on her 2nd honeymoon with her husband in Scotland, and she happens to go to some standing stones and touch them, and they send her back through time, and now she's in like 1700 Scotland, and the Jacobite rising is happening, and she meets a really hot Scottish man, and things get crazy. I like it. I think the first one is quite fun. I got bored when they get to America, sort of spoilers, not really. This show and book has been out for years. They eventually go to America in the series, and that's when I stopped watching and reading because I didn't really care anymore. But I am planning on reading all, I think there's 9 of them now, and I know TV-wise, season 8 is filming right now, and I think will come out next year, is what I think is happening. So those are my audiobooks. This is gonna be a really short video this week, I guess, because I really don't have that many books I read this past month. But my conclusion is my rant about this book. I was so excited for Tempest of Tea. I was so excited because I feel like it was sold to me as a new Six of Crows. I loved the cover art. I loved the vibes. There's like tea, there's vampires, there's Six of Crows heist with a little diverse group of friends. All of these are aspects that I love in a good fantasy book, but the writing was just not very good and the heist had no stakes. And I think this is a problem of marketing and fast production, because I feel like I've seen this book everywhere before it came out. I've been seeing it in book boxes, I've been seeing it all over for like pre-read things, but I can't imagine that we read the same book and that people are still hyped about it. This book makes me so annoyed because I was so excited for it. I was so ready and I was so Book follows Arthie, and for other people, Arthie is an immigrant to basically like a fantasy London is what I would say, and she runs a tea shop by day that is a vampire bar by night, like where like a speakeasy, sort of a prohibition style speakeasy, because you're not legally allowed to drink blood or something, so it turns into like a blood bar for vampires at night, which is illegal. So she runs that, but she also has a fantasy gun that also annoyed me. I can't even get into it because I don't want to spoil that bit. This is so difficult to do this review without spoiling it, because so many of the things I have problems with are big spoilers for the book, but I didn't really feel like... You'll just have to read it, because, oh, it's so bad. So anyway, basically what ends up happening is her and her little ragtag group of people that she collects together have to go on this heist to go steal a logbook back from the vampire den. And it's a logbook that talks about, they don't know what it talks about, but it's something that used to be in the possession of the city guard. Anyway, I would say my main problems with this book in general, I thought all the characters were interesting. I liked that they were diverse. I wish they were also more queer. Like, we had a lot of like racial diversity and some disabilities, but we didn't have queerness, and it felt very queer, but then without being queer, so I wish it was a little more queer. But maybe that's just my Six of Crows brain thinking it's the exact same thing. I also wish the characters, they seemed a little flat. I feel like we kept being told that Arthie has secrets. She knows everybody's secrets. But we weren't shown that. We were just told that over and over again. I mean, at one point she like reveals secrets and things, but I feel like where Kaz deals in secrets and Kaz is walking around and everyone's scared of him, I was like, yes, Kaz is a scary person. Kaz is full of secrets. Arthie didn't seem mysterious, and I don't know, I wasn't threatened. Do you know what I'm saying? I just didn't get that vibe. I don't know why. But then back to the quick publishing thing. I feel like, obviously, Instagram and TikTok are huge influences on the publishing industry, and I feel like this book was so marketed on both. I don't know if it would be considered a TikTok book, since I'm not really on TikTok too much anymore, but I feel like it might be considered a TikTok book. And I feel like maybe the publishing of this book went a little too quickly, that it wasn't done carefully, because I found a lot of grammar and editing problems that I don't think are particularly the writer's fault, but more the like beta reader and editor's fault for not picking up these things. For example, there was different POVs throughout the book going between the main characters. They all really had a similar tone. I could not tell them apart, but I think it was supposed to be third person limited, which is basically like Harry Potter, where it's third person, so it's like you looking at the scene, but then you're getting the one character's thoughts and feelings. So it's sort of like you're sitting on that person's shoulder, and so it'd be like, she walked around, she was really sad because blah blah. So you're getting her thoughts and emotions and whatever, but only hers, no one else's, but also what she's seeing. Sort of like her perspective, but third person. That's what it is supposed to be, but sometimes it would just sort of switch to third person, like omniscient or objective, because every once in a while it'd be like, she's feeling this, she's doing this, and then it'd be like, he felt upset. And I was like, we should not know his feelings. This doesn't make sense. So there's something going wrong with like the tense, the POV. So that was bothering me throughout the book, because I would get confused. I'm reading this chapter and all of a sudden it would switch like that for just like one sentence, and I was like, whose perspective is this now? Like I can't even remember. And I did feel like all of the different perspectives sounded the same, which I think is it's really difficult to actually get them sounding different, so I don't fault the author for that, but I don't understand why the editors wouldn't have picked up on like a little thing like what I just previously mentioned. I also had problems with the dialogue. I found that all the dialogue was super quippy, flirty, which could be fun, but I felt like all of the characters' dialogue was quippy, flirty with everyone they met, which then made none of the relationships feel real to me, because they would talk like flirty with their partner, the person they're gonna end up, their love interest, but then they would also talk sort of quippy, flirty with like this random man at the bank, and I was like, we're just flirting with everyone now, I guess. So that was happening, but on top of that, some of the dialogue was written so confusing to me. I don't know if this is just me, but I was having problems with, for example, I'm just gonna make up a scenario because I don't remember exactly what scenes, but this happened a few times. We're going along in the chapter, right? And all of a sudden they're having a conversation. Maybe they're like sitting at a bar or something, and someone's like, look at that man who just walked in. And then we'll get like a page and a half of like descriptive words, right? So like, he was a tall man, he was wearing a brown jacket and a green hat or whatever. And then like a page and a half later, a different character will finally respond to that statement and be like, that man? Which man? Or something like that. And then I, as the reader, had no idea who we were talking to anymore or what we were talking about. And I literally had to like flip backwards to find where the last bit of conversation was to understand what the hell was going on. It was driving me nuts. I've never had that happen before in a book. Like, I feel like I'm very good at keeping all the threads and understanding what's going on. I literally, like, this happened multiple times in this book. I also felt like there wasn't a lot of transitions in the book, so randomly we would start a chapter and they'd be like, on the roof, and I'm like, why are we on the roof? Where are we going? I don't know. Why is it these two characters? What are they doing? And there was never any allusion to that before. They never said, oh, like, we really need to do some reconnaissance, I'll meet you on the roof tomorrow, and then like a few chapters later they're on the roof. No, it was literally just like, they all got together, they decide they're doing the heist, a couple chapters later suddenly they're on the roof, we don't know why. And it's just like a flirty little moment. It's not even very relevant to the plot. And that's what the whole book was like. So one chapter, they're just like standing on the roof flirting. And there's another chapter where these two characters like break into a house and hang out there. which that one made sort of more sense, but I didn't understand why they were breaking into the house when the chapter started. I was like, oh, what's going on? We're just suddenly at this house. There's a bunch of chapters like that, and there was a cat character, which was sort of annoying me, because one of the characters randomly has a kitten, and it's not explained why, and I don't know if maybe this was like supposed to be like a little joke, like oh, like this little cat, it's sort of funny, he's just randomly there, but I felt like there was so much else going on that I didn't understand why this cat was there ever. And it was funny because it completely took me out of the narrative, because I was like, what the hell? And it was basically like, the cat is introduced in this one scene, they're standing on a doorstep about to go into someone's house, and he just like has a cat, and the other characters are like, why do you have a cat? And he's like, oh, it's my new pet. And then they make fun of him because he didn't name it, and it never gets a name. Then later chapters, no joke, there will be one sentence in the whole chapter that's like, the cat fell out of his pocket. And you're like, the cat was here the whole time? Like, what? Why? And this man is just walking around town with a cat in his pocket at all times. Very funny, I'll give them that. But there's too much going on in this book already. Anyway, I didn't like the book. I also thought the heist bit was boring. There was no stakes. Basically, they get there and it's super easy, which I wouldn't consider a heist. And then the end 20 pages-ish of the whole book is just like insanity main plot points. Like, that's where all the actual action and like, oh no, are they gonna survive? Is so-and-so gonna get married? Like, that's where it all happens, is like the last 20 pages. And I haven't read this yet, but I've been told that only in copies that were pre-ordered, you got an epilogue. And apparently the epilogue has a ton of information and ton of things happen in just this epilogue, but the only way you could actually read it is if you pre-ordered the book. If you go buy the book right now, you cannot get the epilogue. And I think that's another extremely dumb marketing thing. Does not make sense. Because then now we're gatekeeping the actual story, in fact, I fear. Anyway, that's this month's book review. I don't recommend Tempest of Tea. If you've read it, please let me know down below what your thoughts were. I will say I loved the diversity in it. I feel like there needs to be more of that in the fantasy world and all writing. But in general, I didn't love the book. I think I also had way high expectations, so it was sort of set up to fail for me since my expectations were too high. But I also did not love the writing. So I'm a bit bummed. About it. But if you read it, please let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know why I'm wrong. Let me know what you liked about it or what you didn't like. And maybe we're in the same boat. I don't know. Furthermore, next month I will be reading Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, which everyone's been recommending to me. It is like a adult literary fiction type of book. I'm not usually a literary fiction person. I think it's historical literary fiction. I don't usually like those, but I do try to read different genres, you know? So I'm just starting that now. I'm also hoping to read the second Outlander. I don't remember what it's called. I think it's the Dragonfly one. Dragonfly and Amber, maybe? Return of the King, which is the third Lord of the Rings book. I'm also hoping to read, oh, is it called Salt in the Sea or something? I'm gonna put it here. This one. I'm hoping to read this because I am going on a little beach vacation, so I'm hoping to read this while I'm at the beach. I'm also hoping to read Book Lovers, which everyone has been recommending to me, which is by Emily Henry, and An Education in Malice. We'll see how much reading gets done, to be quite honest, because you know me. I'd be busy, I'd be around, but in my head I'm like, oh, I could read 18 books. We'll see. I also want to read The Binding. Something about like five broken scars, this thing. Anyway, if I don't read them this June, I will probably read them in July or soon. So anyway, I also have to read Caraval. I know we talked about this a couple months ago. I just haven't been, I feel like I need to be in the mood to do a whole series, because I do like to read a whole series in one go. I don't like to read one book, wait a little bit. I want to read it all at once. Anyway, if you have any more recommendations for me, if you've read any of the books that I just talked about, let me know down below. Bye!